What's going on, everybody? Welcome in American Football Network here today. And today we have another video for you guys. We're bringing you our LSU versus Texas A&M preview and prediction video, the game of the week. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe, comment those thoughts and opinions down below, and help me reach that goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of October. Check out the description for links to our shop, podcast, website, Patreon page, and our College Football Roundup channel. Also, at the top of the description, you'll find a link to Parlay Play. Check them out. It's as simple as choosing over or under, more or less, on your favorite players' stats for the games, win real money. And they'll even right now, if you click that code, they will give you a 100% deposit match and $5 free play. So go and check them out. Use that link and get those deals. But let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So LSU A&M, this will be the 7:30 game on ABC. A&M comes in as a 3-point favorite. The over-under is set at 54. A cool fact with this one, the winner will have the outright lead in the SEC. They are the last two remaining unbeaten teams in SEC play. LSU comes into this one 6-1 on the year, 3-0 in the conference. Lost to USC in Vegas week 1, then beat Nicholls at home. Won on the road at South Carolina, won versus UCLA at home, beat South Alabama at home, beat Ole Miss at home, and beat Arkansas on the road. For A&M, they come in 6-1 as well, 4-0 in SEC. Lost to Notre Dame week 1 at home, then beat McNeese State at home, beat Florida on the road, beat Bowling Green at home, beat Arkansas at home, beat Missouri at home, and beat Mississippi State on the road. You look at the series history between these two teams, obviously the one that stands out is the 74-72 game, the one that changed the overtime rules in college football. But LSU leads the all-time series 36-23-3. A&M is 10-4-1 all-time at home in this series, though. And since 2017, the home team has won. They've gone back and forth every year with the home team winning since then. And one thing I did notice when looking at the series history, this series has been in favor of LSU, like just the scheduling of it. From 1956 to 1986, they played 18 times. All 18 were in Baton Rouge. Like they went on a long stretch where they didn't play in College Station. And there was about a 6 or 7 year stretch before that where it was just straight. I think they played 5 of the 6 years where it was just straight, every single one of them in Baton Rouge. So LSU is definitely favored from home field advantage in this one. I mean, you see how many times they've played. What's that, 62 times, and only 15 of them have been in College Station. So it's a little crazy, the scheduling of it, but A&M's 10-4-1 all time at home. So a look at the keys to the game for this one, or actually let's look at the stat leaders for both teams. So Garrett Nussmeier comes in the leading passer for LSU, 183 of 283, 2,222 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. On the flip side, the leading passer for the Aggies is Connor Weigman, 56 of 91, 718 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. He missed, I believe, 2 or 3, maybe even a few more games than that. He was out for a little bit of a stretch there. Caden Durham comes in the leading rusher for the LSU Tigers, 62 carries, 382 yards, 6 touchdowns on the year for him. Levon Moss, the leading rusher for the Aggies, 105 carries, 674 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Kyron Lacey, the leading receiver and the big threat offensively for the Tigers, 36 catches, 512 yards, 6 touchdowns for him. And Noah Thomas, the leading receiver for the Aggies, 21 catches, 289 yards, and 3 scores on the year for him. Now to the keys to the game. Number one for me is going to be offensive line play in this game. I mean, we've seen it really in the whole SEC. The offensive lines have really just struggled, but by far these have been the best 2 offensive lines. Now, they've struggled at times. LSU, I was at that South Carolina game, the LSU-South Carolina game. LSU, their offensive line, it struggled at times in that game. And that was what was really hard for them to get going offensively. Now, South Carolina, I believe, is like 3rd in the country in sacks this year, in team sacks this year. So, I mean, they're they're a team who's going to get pressure on you and gets after the quarterback. That D line that they have is very good. So so that's what they. But I mean, A&M's defensive line is just as good. Might even be a little bit better. So when you look, it's still going to be pressure up. But for the most part, these two offensive lines have been really good this year, especially here in the recent weeks. But when you look, Nussmeier, when pressured, he's made some bad passes. And so is Wiegman, but that's one thing that particularly stands out to me with Garrett Nussmeier when watching him is whenever he's getting pressured, sometimes he'll just force the football instead of throwing it away or trying to run, or even sometimes just taking the sack. He tries to force the pass in there, and that can lead to interceptions and takeaways for your team. We saw that in the South Carolina game. For sure, as he was getting pressured and he just threw it and tried to force it in there, force the ball and ended up getting burned with interception. So, that's one thing to watch. I think when I look at this, I think A&M definitely has the better front seven. I think that they can get some pressure on Nussmeier, and I think that could be a problem for LSU if he's getting pressured by that A&M front seven. I think they have one of the better front sevens in the country. And so if they're able to get pressure, force Nussmeier to make some bad throws, then that's gonna, that could be the difference in the football game. But it isn't going to be easy because that LSU offensive line, the two tackles, they're both going in the top 20 in the draft this year. Both of them are first-round picks. They probably even go a little bit higher than top 20. You might even could say top 15. Now, it depends on the combine. One of them may slip a little bit, but they're very two good tackles. They're going to go high in the draft, definitely going to be first-round picks. And so it's not going to be easy for A&M to get pressure. And it's not going to be easy for LSU to get pressure either, especially with Harold Perkins tore his ACL a few weeks ago. Not going to be here. I mean, he was your best defensive player, but surprisingly enough, LSU's defense has gotten a little bit better without him. I think it's because they didn't really know how to use him. He was just kind of out there. But now that they, it seems like defensively they've been a little bit better without him, shockingly, but still a guy you want to have on the field, especially in big games like this. But that's it. Offensive line play. Who can protect their quarterback and establish a run game? That's one thing to look at is who can give their quarterback time to throw, because that's going to be the biggest key to the game for me. Number two, can LSU stop Texas A&M's run game? A&M comes in averaging 5.5 yards a carry and 218 yards a game. Very good at running the football. They like to get out and come out of the gate and establish a run game early. It really helps to open up their offense a lot. I think that's something they're going to try to do in this one as well. On the flip side, LSU does have the 33rd best run defense. They're only allowing 115 yards a game and 3.7 yards a carry. So that's going to be another matchup to watch is LSU's run defense versus A&M's running offense. Can the Aggies establish a run game? If they can, it's going to be hard for LSU to stop the Texas A&M offense. But if they can't, it's going to be hard for A&M to get anything going. You never want to be one-dimensional, especially in a big game like this against, with two good teams going up against each other. I mean, they're both really good. A&M's ranked 14th. If Notre Dame had looked a little bit better, I think A&M would be ranked a little bit higher, but it's hard to put A&M over Notre Dame. So that's why they're sitting at 14 and LSU sitting at 8th in the country. So, top 15 matchup. It's a big game. You don't want to be a one-dimensional offense going into it. But my third key of the game, the top 15 matchup we were talking about, the third key to the game to me is the 12th man in Aggieland. I mean, you're going to have to fight that crowd if you're LSU coming in. And if you're A&M, you need that crowd to stay going the whole game. You got to find ways to make plays, get them loud. You can't let LSU come in and go up, 14-0 on you. It's going to be tough. The crowd's going to slowly not play as big of a factor. But if you can keep this game right there with them, or even get a lead on them, even build a big lead on them. But the main thing is keeping the crowd in the game if you're A&M, and if you're LSU, trying to get it out of the game as early as you possibly can, because that is the rowdiest crowd in the country. It is the best crowd in the country, and they're loud. They're loud and they're ready to go. And so it's going to be a tough battle, especially with this being a night game. I mean, we've seen that crowd be crazy and loud and going at a night game when A&M was terrible with Jimbo Fisher some of those years. And an A&M team who probably isn't even going to make a bowl game, and they're out there loud, going nuts at night. So now when you got a top 15 matchup and this is for the outright lead in the SEC, and especially if you're A&M, that'll give you 5 conference wins already. You're sitting in the driver's seat, especially when you look at that upcoming schedule that they have. Really, the only tough game left on their schedule that they might not win is going to be Texas at the end of the year, which would give them 1 loss. I mean, when you look at that schedule, this is a team. If you win this football game, you might be in the SEC championship. If you're LSU, same goes for you. You have it a little bit tougher schedule going down the stretch, but you win this game and you're in the driver's seat. So that crowd is going to be loud. They know the stakes, and they know what this game means, and it's going to be crazy at Kyle Field. I expect a great atmosphere. And again, if you're A&M, you got to find a way to keep them going all 4 quarters. If you're LSU, you got to get them quiet as fast as you possibly can. So now on to the score prediction. We mentioned earlier that A&M is favored by 3. The over-under set at 54. I have the Aggies pulling away, coming out with the W. I have them winning this game 27-24. I just think that, 27-23. I think it's going to be a close game. I do think it'll be a little bit lower score, and I have the under. This combines for 50. My score prediction does, so be 4 points under the total. But I just think A&M is going to find a way to do it. I think that's another thing to look at too. I failed to mention Elko and Brian Kelly have some of the best records of current coaches in 1-score games. So this is going to be a fun matchup. This is going to be one the whole country's watching. I think A&M edges them out. I just think that A&M is going to be able to get pressure on Nussmeier and this LSU offense, and I think they're going to be able to establish a solid run game. And I think Weigman's the real deal. Wegman, however you say his name, I think he's the real deal. I think he's a good quarterback. He lit Missouri up. They're playing good football. I think that A&M is going to keep it rolling with a W here and put themselves in prime position to make the SEC championship in Elko's first year. Who would imagine that? But yeah, just a great game that's going to play out Saturday night. But I have the Aggies winning this one 27-23. So that's going to wrap up today's video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, comment those thoughts and opinions down below. We'll see you guys.